Welcome to The Big Picture. Tonight is going to be huge. We're going to ask Paul Begley some very important questions. Will Trump get his nominees? Will they go through? But we're also going to talk about Israel, breaking news from Israel, something that you have not heard anywhere else that you're going to hear tonight. Then I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. Paul and I are going to discuss it at the end. Is the beast system already in work, and are they planning on producing very soon fake signs in the heavens and pretend to be God? You know that's what the devil does, but we're going to break him down and shut him up tonight. Let's go. Big Picture Live. Well, it is Thursday night, and of course, you know that what that means. The first Thursday of the month, we bring in none other than the man, the myth, the legend. And I'll tell you what, every time he comes, it never gets old. When he comes in, the crowd always goes wild for Pastor Paul Begley.
Are you serious? Are you serious? Oh, it's so good to be with you tonight, Bishop. Oh, it's getting good. It's getting gooder.
Man, the stuff that we've been talking about on this program when we bring you on that could possibly happen leading up to the election. Now Trump is in, and it is about to be a crazy ride, Pastor Paul Begley. I'm telling you, I got a lot of questions for you. Before we do that, I want you to smash that like button. What are you waiting on? Why are you not smashing the like button? Do you smash it, smash it, smash it? What's wrong with you? It don't cost you anything. Pastor Paul, this is the cheapest, easiest way anybody can help our channels. Just smash the like button, subscribe, share, smash it, smash it, smash it.
Boom.
Boom. How you doing, Pastor?
Oh, I'm doing great, Bishop. Doing wonderful. Wonderful.
Man, you and Heidi have an amazing Thanksgiving. I'm sure you didn't eat too much. You didn't have to repent or nothing like that.
I gained 2 pounds. So, yeah, I went over. And I think it's because I think it's the pumpkin pie. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Pie. It might have been what did.
I told my wife, I said, I don't know. I've been studying Scripture now for 35 years, and I seem to remember somewhere in there's some kind of clause where the Lord looks the other way on Thanksgiving. Is that in there? Did I just dream that? I mean,
I think you might be onto something here, but here's one thing I can say. He did set up 7 feasts.
Oh, my God. Okay, that right there deserves that. Oh, I felt the Holy Ghost just there. I felt it.
He didn't call him 7 starvations. But he did say we should fast and pray.
That's true.
Okay. So he kind of balanced that. But we do get the 7 feasts. So there is some feasting. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So we digress. You can tell when me and Pastor Paul Begley get together, we just have fun, y'all. Pastor Paul, let's rapid fire some things, because I think people's got a lot of questions of what's going on in our world, and you've got your ear to the ground. You've got connections in Washington. You've got connections in Israel, around the world. And, you and I talk off the record. Sometimes you tell me some things that just blows my mind, that God has blessed you with open doors, connections to the White House, connections to just influential senators. And, of course, you're now living in the great state of Florida that apparently Donald Trump has just decided to just pull everybody out of Florida and put them in Washington.
He's raiding the car. I mean, look, he's taking everybody. He's taking our attorney general. He's taking our congressman. He's taking our best senators. He's trying to maybe even going to take the governor. I don't know. I mean, this is crazy. Do we have anybody left in the bench over here in Florida? I don't know if there's anybody else on the bench.
Well, it might be you, Pastor Paul Begley. Who knows? They might be coming after you to run for governor.
Oh, my Lord. Can you imagine? Florida loves the governor.
All right, well, let's get to it. Let's get to it. You and I were talking off the record before we went on the air tonight, breaking today. Of course, this is Thursday, and on the news today, they are doubling down on trying to shut down Trump's nominee for the Department of Defense, Hegseth. So what are you hearing? Do you feel like, of course, we know it's your opinion, but I know you've also got connections, and you've been doing a deep dive into this. Do you think that Hegseth is going to survive and become the Secretary of Defense, or do you think he's going to go by way of Matt Gaetz and then be replaced? And we'll talk about the potential replacement in the next question. But first question is, do you think that he's going to survive? And if he does, do you think that Hegseth will actually be able to do the things that he says he's going to do?
The first question is, will he survive? It really comes down to Trump. From what I'm hearing, there's 5 senators that would like for him to step away. All the Democrats want him to go away. The entire mainstream media wants him to go away. And 5 U.S. Republican senators want him to go. But Lindsey Graham was on last night, and he was standing with Hegseth. He said, look, I served with him. I was in Iraq serving with him. He's an honorable man. He's a warrior. He's a patriot, and he's also highly intelligent. Graduated very high from Harvard and Princeton. He has 2 Bronze Stars. So he is literally, it's up to Trump. As long as Trump says, I'm staying with him, then he will get in, because these Republican senators will not want to be the first one to stick their hand up and go against President Trump. They will not want to do that, because the momentum Trump's got is just too powerful. So I'm going to say yes. I'm giving him a 55% chance he'll make it. 55% yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, from what I understand, for the things that I've studied out, I as a strong conservative, as a believer, I think you would be a great pick. Now, what they're saying is they're talking about allegations of with a woman and all this years and years ago. Then they brought up something that his mother wrote in an email. Of course, she's come back and said that she repented to him. She went on Fox News this week and just recanted a lot of that and just said, look, my son's changed. I've changed. That I think it was 7 years ago and all this. Don't believe the lie that's being told about what I said about my son. And then, of course, now from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, really they're just putting everything on the fact that he may have a drinking problem, that he maybe have drank a little bit on Fox News, or maybe he has a drinking problem. If they're down to that, Paul, and I'm not here to go one way or the other on drinking, but we're not here to discuss that. But if they're down to that, I'm with you. I think that they're just sort of pulling straws right now because they realize the handwriting's on the wall. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if the main thing they have a problem with is the fact that he has spoken out so much against wokeism in the military, and they don't want to give up the ground that they've made in wokeism. Is that the main issue with Pete Hegseth?
Yes, there's 2 issues. Number one, wokeism. You're definitely on. They do not want to give up the ground that they have polluted the U.S. military, weakened the military, and Hegseth knows this and wants to turn that around. And number 2, Hegseth is a strong supporter of Israel. Okay. I mean, he's been there several times, and he's even did a documentary on Fox Nation about the Holy Land. Also, speaking to what his mother said, the Pete she was talking about, who did at one time have a drinking problem for sure, but that's before he had an encounter with Jesus Christ. That's before he got born again. So again, the media wants to go back, they want to write a song, he's got a drinking problem. It's a good country song, but the guy can run. This guy will probably be the greatest Secretary of Defense if we can get him in the office. So yes, 2 things. They don't want to give up wokeism. That was a big one. And number 2, they hate the fact that he supports Israel. So you put him in position of the entire Secretary of Defense and a guy who's a pro-Israeli. They just can't. There's 2 reasons they don't want him.
Yeah. All right. So real fast, I'm with you. I personally think, and who knows what's going to happen, I think he's going to make it. I think he's going to get in. And but let's just say he don't. Real quick, we got a lot to cover, but real quick, Pastor, I'm hearing, and I think most people's been hearing, that if he don't get in, the next choice may be none other than Ron DeSantis. Are you hearing that in Florida? And what are the people on the ground in Florida saying about that?
First thing the people in Florida are saying, please don't take Ron DeSantis. You've already taken everybody else that we got in Florida. But Ron, of course, was an officer in the Navy, extremely intelligent guy. And the fact that he's run the state of Florida so efficiently, I mean, it's incredible how he handles disasters. Yeah. Also, he took on woke. If you don't like Pete Hegseth, you don't want, I just got news for the media. You don't like Pete, you're afraid Pete's going to do things. You trust me. Ron DeSantis is even stronger than Pete. Ron DeSantis defends the children. He's against all these woke agendas, and he gets things done. This guy is this guy's an expert in managing large. You think the Department of Defense is large? I mean, he's mastered Florida. We don't want to give him up as our governor, but if duty calls, we've got a deep bench. We'll find somebody else.
Yeah. Okay. You have any thoughts on Kash Patel?
Yeah, I do. I think this guy's a bulldog, highly intelligent, a tremendous lawyer. I mean, they're singing his praises down here. Um, it's kind of funny because this guy is hated by the left again,
Yeah.
but they don't know, they can't really get their hands on any scandal or any kind of thing. They can create a scandal. They don't know what to do with him. So I think they swung their attention back toward Pete. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Kash is going in. He's all cash, no credit. Okay.
Ah! Oh, come on. That was good.
Right. That's all right.
That was good. That was good.
That
All right.
was
So,
Israel. Okay, that was
yeah,
Israel.
yeah, yeah. We'll give a little shout out to Israel there. Good one, Israel. It's like the old preacher thing. Israel, if you're listening, if you're watching right now, we're going to give you the credit the first time. Second time, we're going to talk about this friend that we have that said, he's all cash, no credit. And then the third time, you're free to just say, just like I've always said, Kash Patel is all cash and no credit. Just steal it. Just rob it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So real quick, we're going fast here. Rapid fire with Paul Begley. The Hunter Biden pardon. My question to you is this, and this has been deep on my mind. Why now? Because most people that have very controversial, and first of all, never been done, first president to ever pardon a family member. This pardon, as people have dug into it, is the most sweeping pardon since Nixon, and maybe even more than Nixon. It goes all the way back to January 1st, I believe 2014 is when it begins. And it basically says any crime or potential crime that he had committed from January 1st, 2014, all the way up to the day of the pardon, he's pardoned for. Probably the most controversial pardon in the history of the United States of America. Something that controversial you would think would come closer to January 20th so he can just do it and get out of town. Why now? What are your thoughts? Is this because they knew something was supposed to come down, that the people that are loyal to Trump or whatever was going to try to do something to him? It's just strange to me, number one, the deep complexity and the overreaching of this pardon and the timing. What are your thoughts?
It's a great question, Larry. And here's the first thing. December 4th, Biden was going to be, his first sentencing was going to take place, which was the tax evasion. And so they had to do something before December 4th. Okay. Now, he still could have waited, let him be sentenced, and then pardon him, as you said, on January 20th. But they didn't even want to get there. They didn't want the sentencing to happen, and then he pardons them. They thought, let's just do this on a Sunday night. The president got on a plane and flew to Africa. Let's just sweep this away.
Wow.
There's a main reason they're doing the pardons, though, is because it's cover for the president and the entire Biden family.
Yeah.
They just want to say, because Hunter is the point guy on all the criminal activity and that's been going on with these other governments, whether it be Ukraine, China, and everybody else. So you got to forgive Hunter for everything that we know of and anything we don't know of. It's unbelievable, but it's to protect Joe Biden, James Biden, all the way down the line to the nephews and nieces that were collecting money. This is why they did it this way.
Well, that's what I'm hearing, and that's what I feel too, that this really wasn't, my opinion is the reason is so sweeping and all the way back to the January 1st, 2014, is it's called on the paper Hunter Biden's pardon, but it's really the Biden family pardon.
That's exactly right. It's the Biden family pardon.
Okay, so I'm hearing a few of the people that I follow, and I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what I'm hearing, is that they did this, and we're putting it on the record right now, if this happens, that he did this pardon of Hunter Biden now, basically to give cover for the whole family, but for extra security, on January 20th or the day before, he is going to pardon his brother and maybe even for the first time in history, because you can do this, literally pardon himself on January 20th as Donald Trump is walking into the White House. And just because he's so close to checking out, he's thinking of his family, to pardon himself. So I believe there's just, and I think a lot of this too is going back to Ukraine. I think not just Burisma, because this goes back to when he began his son to be on the board of Burisma. I believe that this is money laundering, all kinds of things that are happening. But the transition to this question, do you think this is going to, whether he needed it or not, almost empower Donald Trump as he comes in to now pardon the J6ers? Will they get pardoned, in your opinion? I know we don't know this. This is your opinion. Will they get pardoned, have their sentences commuted, and so forth? Will we see a mass exodus from prison of these J6ers? And does this Hunter Biden pardon give him more freedom to do that?
Well, it definitely gives him the freedom to do it. It gives him definite political cover to do this. And also, Trump even made a statement about a week ago. He said after and it wasn't a week ago, just a few days ago, because after he pardoned Hunter, the president said on Truth Social, well, why don't you go ahead and pardon the J6 people while you're at it and save me the trouble? Okay. So that was his way of saying, you should just go ahead and forgive all these people since you're going to do this. This is so blatantly criminal that what you're doing, and save me the problem. So in other words, but if you don't, I'm going to. That's basically what I'm reading. And will it be a blanket one? Let them all out at once, or will he say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this right. We're going to look at each case. We're going to let them go in waves. And if there's anybody in here who really did do something that was criminal, we're going to look at, maybe it's time served. But I think they're going to do a lot of pardons, clemency, reduction of sentences. But everybody's going to get out. I think everybody's going to get released in this thing, because I think the country is tired of this J6 thing. And look, Trump was done wrong in lawfare the whole time over this J6 thing. So he's not going to forget these people who stood with him. He's going to turn them loose, and the country's going to love it. The media is going to hate it. The Democrats are going to cry, but the country are going to applaud him for doing this.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, I don't think any, I know some of them have been sentenced, but a huge swath of the people that are in jail and have never been released, never been given bail, have not even been charged yet certainly with insurrection. That's never been charged. And some of them are still in solitary confinement. And Sandy and I covered on election night that some of them were not even given permission to vote, to get out and go vote. It's just unbelievable persecution that's been done. And I'm with you too. I believe that it's going to be rolled out. My opinion is that I think he's hinted at that some of the people did some things that needed to be prosecuted for, and that he would commute their sentences, not pardon them, not wipe their record, and just basically say, look, you've been in here long enough for what you did. You didn't physically harm anyone, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to commute your. But a lot of people are still in prison. We've got people that are in their 60s, 70s, and pushing 80 that are in prison that just literally stood outside, didn't even go in, and some of them just went in, and that's all they did, to take pictures, and they still are in jail. So
well, let me tell you, Stuart Rhodes, who was the head of the Oath Keepers, not the Proud Boys, that's one group, but the Oath Keepers. I baptized him. In a conference in Dallas, Texas, about 2 years before the January 6th thing happened. He was asked to be, he and like four other guys, they did the security for a Hear the Watchman conference in Dallas, Texas. They were running security. And I baptized him in the swimming pool, because I baptized, I think, 30-some people that day. He was one of them. And then when I saw, and guess what? He got 18 and a half years. He's got the most of anybody. He wasn't even in Washington. He was not in Washington.
What?
Okay. Just because he was the head of the Oath Keepers. They went after the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. He was not even there. But they charged.
Did you say 18 and a half years?
Yeah, you can look it up. Stuart Rhodes. Okay. Stuart Rhodes. And so when I saw he was sentenced and was convicted and sentenced, I about died, because I said, okay, I met this guy, I baptized this guy. He gave his life to Jesus Christ at a conference. And I'm thinking, okay, and he wasn't even there. I don't know why they could throw this at him this hard. But I think that, these folks, and like you said, there's people who weren't even in Washington. We know people here in Florida who never even went to Washington. The FBI came to their home, questioned them, and I mean, really interrogated them, and they weren't even there. It's just because they had a Trump flag flying in their front yard. And I mean, I know this happened to.
Yeah, well, it happened in Alabama too. We have several in Alabama that were put in prison. And one guy in Alabama was put in prison, just like this guy you're talking about, that wasn't there. He was connected with somebody. They raided his home, abused him in front of his children, drug him out in front of his family with guns, pointed at him and pointed at his family. But yeah, this is just craziness. And on top of everything, I hope also that Donald Trump not only pardons the J6ers, but I believe that he has a mandate to pardon. There's people in prison right now that all they did was pray out in front of an abortion clinic. They're in prison, and they didn't do anything but pray. They were just standing there praying, and there's a 70-something-year-old woman right now that's in jail for protesting an abortion clinic, and she's in jail. She's in her 70s. And so these kind of things that, they didn't harm anybody, they didn't touch anybody. Most of them didn't even scream at a woman or something going in. They're just literally standing outside of abortion clinic, holding a sign, praying against this worship of the god of Moloch. That's what it is, blood sacrifice, and they're in jail. So I'm calling on Donald Trump to not just pardon the J6ers, but also pardon those that have stood up for life.
Amen. Amen to that. And you know what? We may see that happen as well. He does believe in prison reform. But certainly he believes in justice, and it's not justice; it's an injustice to put people in prison for prayer. I read about a couple of people like that in the Bible, Paul and Silas, a couple folks who I know a guy who got stoned to death because all he did was pray by the name of Stephen. So I think that Donald Trump has got a lot of stuff to fix when it comes to the lawfare. It wasn't only Donald Trump who suffered from lawfare. It was a lot of Americans. I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah, and people like me and you too. He's got to deal with censorship. He's got to deal with because this lawfare is going to come after us as well, and they're going to try to use hate speech and all this. That's what their plan was. This plan has always been to shut the Paul Begleys, Larry Raglands down, and the big names and all this. But all of them, if you speak against their agenda, shut it down. He has obviously also suffered from that. Banned. I mean, think about it. I mean, the president while he was still president. Let's not forget this, y'all. I'm not talking about after he was out of office. He was still a sitting president. He had not transitioned on January 20th yet. You could not watch a video from him on YouTube, Twitter. He was not on Facebook. He was not on any platform. The president of the United States, while he was still president, had no way of independently communicating with the citizens of which he was the voted on president of. And so if they could do that to him while he was still the president and then ban him basically all the way through everything until it was obvious that he was going to be the candidate, and then one by one they started just sort of releasing his social media again. Ladies and gentlemen, they're going to come after whoever speaks against them. So that's why we say all the time here on this program, we're going to be here as long as we can. We're going to do our best not to get kicked off, but we know that the day is probably coming where you and I are going to probably have to make some decisions. They may make the decision for us and kick us off. But as long as we're here, Pastor, we got to keep telling the truth. Absolutely. And they don't like to hear the truth, but we're going to tell it. Amen.
Amen to that, Larry. Just we hold the line, and we have everybody praying for us, cover us in the blood of Christ, and we're going to wear our armor proudly, okay, with our shield of faith and our sword of the Spirit, and we're going to move on. So absolutely, we're here, we're in it to win it, okay?
Yes. Now I want to talk about Israel, and I want to talk about Palestinian state, and I want to talk about the Ukrainian war, and we're going to do that in 30 seconds. We'll be right back with those questions.
Would you like to help us build the big picture family? We're on a mission to wake up the world to what is really going on. All you have to do is go to our website at LarryRagland.com and make a one-time gift, or you can become a monthly partner. Any amount is a blessing and an encouragement to us. While you're there, make sure you get a copy of our book, I See Greatness in You. Browse our merchandise store, connect with us on our social media links, and join our mailing list. We appreciate it. And remember, we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake.
Yes, we are. We are certainly awake, and Paul Begley is certainly awake as well. All right, Pastor Paul, let's talk about Israel. Let's talk about the Middle East. The Word of God tells us to watch the fig tree, keep our eyes on the prince of the eye, the apple of the eye of God, and that is Israel. Everything hinges on Israel, Bible prophecy, and where the world is going. So, first of all, just whatever comes to your mind, what is the first thing, what are you hearing from Israel when it comes to this supposed ceasefire? Now we're seeing violations of it. It's almost like it hasn't existed. Is this really a ceasefire, or was this Netanyahu's way of just sort of giving them something and just sort of maybe maintaining until Donald Trump gets in to finish? So what's the latest on Israel? Where do you see it going? And then we'll come back and talk about the Palestinian state question. But right now, where is the war in Israel, and where do you see it going in relation to the Trump presidency?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Netanyahu, this was an olive branch. I think he was offering an olive branch saying, look, here's a chance. I'm willing to do a ceasefire if you guys are done. If you're done and you'll go north of that river and stay out of southern Lebanon, we can start over. I'm going to finish off annihilating Hamas. And if you don't want a piece of that, you make a decision right now. Okay. And I think this was his offer, and it didn't take 24 hours and then here they go. So I think the ceasefire is basically over. It's a slow breakdown now, just slowly going to end. And then we're going to forget it even existed. It won't be long. There'll be a massive launch of rockets again. They're already sending some rockets. They've already fired some. So yeah, and then it's really to buy time for Trump to get in and make a decision how to finish this off. Trump wants to end the wars. I mean, this is something he's always said. He wants, and I think Netanyahu's trying to give him a chance to do that, because I tell you, if you got to go all the way in and try to eliminate Hezbollah like they did Hamas, that's another year of fighting, and the people are tired in Israel. I mean, they're tired too.
Right.
So yeah, this was to buy time. This was an olive branch, and it doesn't look like the Iranians are calling the shots, and I just don't see Iran backing down yet.
Well, speaking of Iran, do you think that the Trump effect is what they're calling it all around the world right now has openly affected Iran? Do you think now they had planned on doing something more major than what they've done before, but they've sort of pulled back from that as well? What is the Trump effect right now on Iran and its literal reaction to Israel, not the proxy thing that they've always done? But, this was during this Biden administration, for the first time ever, we saw actual warfare between Israel and Iran, firing back and forth. And then there was this big threat, after the pagers and all that stuff went off, and there was this big threat that they were going to annihilate Israel. Do you think the Trump effect has effectively shut that down, or do you still feel like there's going to be an actual war between Israel and Iran?
No, I think the Trump effect has shut it down. They really thought Biden was going to win. They were really going to launch everything they had. They were going to try to take Israel out. They were going to do a multi-front attack, not just Hezbollah and then maybe some of the other proxies, including Syria, but they were going to try to bring Russia into this. And the United Nations were going to try to do it from a legality standpoint, from a global standpoint. But the Trump effect is an effect. I mean, there's no question. It has put the brakes on so many agendas, including Iran's. They had to lock them up and back off because Trump's about ready to cut off their oil supply, like their ability to sell oil. And they haven't even seen the understanding of what he's getting ready to do as far as crippling them. And regime change is very, very possible in the next 4 years. I will not be shocked if the Ayatollahs who run the Iranian regime gets removed and the end of that regime during the 4 years of the Trump administration. I think that could happen. And there's actually prophecy in the Bible that talks about that the from the Elam, it's in Jeremiah 49. It says that there will be a war against Elam. Elam will be crushed, their bow of their strength destroyed, their weapons, and the remnant of Elam will be scattered all over the world. Wow. Okay, that's a prophecy has never happened. So I think that, and it's a destruction of the Iranian people, because the Iranian people, a lot of Christians are there. I mean, they hate this regime, to be honest.
Yeah.
And a lot of Christians are there, and there's a movement of God there, strong. God loves the Iranian people, but this regime is of the devil. It's a demonic regime, and don't be shocked if that doesn't happen.
I don't know if you follow Patrick Bet-David, the PBD podcast. Love his stuff, and he had this week. Interesting that you should say that. He had the Shah of Iran that was ran out when all this happened. Back during the Carter administration, or maybe before, I can't remember. His son, and it might have been his grandson, but I think it was his son because he looked older, looked just like him, was on his program for like 2 hours talking about what you're saying, that on the ground, he's obviously, his family is still in exile, but on the ground, people are now actually contacting him and saying, we preferred our country under your family's rule, or whatever you want to call it, because it was more of a Western type thing. So there is an upswell of I think a desire for regime change, and I believe that's why Netanyahu, if you remember, he sent that message into Iran and said, "Hey, rise up. We're ready to work with you, but you got to turn this over, and we'll work with you." So I think some interesting things are going to come, not just in America and even on the global scene, but directly tied to Israel and Iran and other things from the Trump effect, which brings me to this. Go ahead.
Look, one thing is, remember, the Iranians have sent assassin teams in here to kill Trump.
Yes.
Okay. So Trump is going to put an end to, I really believe he is going to remove that regime and probably bring the Shah, the son, the man that you're just talking about, bring the son or the grandson of the Shah of Iran, put him in, get him in, put him in, use the CIA, do whatever they got to do, but do a regime change. The people really would embrace this to become a modernized society, no longer isolated away from the rest of the world, but become accepted in the world, become some type of a republic, what have you. So, I'm thinking that'll happen in these 4 years.
Man, this is going to be a ride, ain't it? It's going to be something. Yeah. Okay, so what are you hearing? You and I both were privy to a conversation that was off the record, and I don't know how much you can say about this, but we were told together. I was recording with you, and we were told off the record that there is not just rumors, but leaks coming out, that there was a meeting between Macron's government, maybe even him personally, and I can't ever say his name, Osama bin, not bin, how you say MBS. MBS. That there was a meeting between those two and maybe some others they're going to come out and declare a two-state solution and a Palestinian country without saying we don't even need Israel to do it. Am I getting that right? Is that what we were told? And is that even possible?
You are being told correctly. Matter of fact, after we got that information, you and I went and did some digging and found on a French news site that this conversation definitely took place between Emmanuel Macron and Mohammed bin Salman. This took place in Saudi Arabia. Macron went there for 3 days. And in that 3 days, they agreed, he and MBS agreed that this coming June, they're going to hold a conference on the establishment of a Palestinian state without America or Israel present. Okay. I mean, this has actually happened. And here's what's unbelievable. On the way home, Macron's government collapsed.
Yeah.
Now, here's what. So when you come against Israel, I mean, we got to go back to Genesis tells you, I will curse them that curse Israel. I'll bless them that bless Israel. Macron can't even get home, and his government collapses. The parliament vote the prime minister out, and now Macron is twisted in the wind, and they're now chanting in the streets, Macron's got to go. And guess what? Donald Trump's coming to Paris this weekend.
That's true. Oh, my goodness. I forgot about that. That is so true.
Macron is going to be running around. His hair's on fire. Trump's going out for the Notre Dame, house of the Lord being rededicated. I mean, even the Pope's not even coming for the rededication of Notre Dame, but Trump is the Trump effect. I'm telling you. But don't curse Israel. When you do, it comes home every time.
That is so good. I didn't put the two and two together. I wasn't thinking about that, but you're right. I just saw that last night. The government collapsed.
It collapsed, and now he has to find another prime minister he's got to get the parliament to accept him, and they don't even want him. Okay, they're like, we need you to go away so we can get a new president who can then pick another prime minister, and we can get this government back on track. So this thing is off track.
Well, you know that woman Le Pen, they say she's the female version of their Trump.
Yes.
You know that they hate him, but hate her because she has some of the same beliefs about immigration and things like that Donald Trump has, and she is gaining every election. She's gaining, and it's like the whole world is finally waking up to saying this open border stuff is killing country after country after country, culture after culture after culture. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about immigration. Do you think, to talk about the Trump effect, think about this, the Trump effect. So you got this woman who's the president of Mexico. You got Trudeau, the prime minister of Canada, talking smack. And then Trump just comes out and says, hey, I'll put 100% tariff on you. Better shut your mouth. And I'll spank your rear end. Don't play with me. And they're just laughing. He has meetings with him. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Trudeau is like, yes, sir. Can I kiss the ring? I will secure our borders from this point forward. And the president of Mexico is putting in just this morning. I don't know if you heard this. Just this morning. I don't even know if I even remember hearing this. Mexico this morning arrested and stopped several thousand people on their side and arrested them and kept them from crossing the border.
Wow.
Trump effect.
It's a Trump effect all the way. I mean, Trudeau was even at one point, Trump said, you know what? I mean, you could just be the 51st state of the. I'll let you be governor. I mean, this would be incredible. This guy is the Trump effect. But people are afraid. They understand. And it's not that Trump's a bully. It's just that he is speaking truth. He is speaking what the people out here are thinking. He is representing the masses of the little guys who have been kicked to the curb, been run over, and been taxation and all this migration. And then the Trump effect is here. And like you said, Mexico is eating out of his hand. Canada's going to have to follow suit. And by the way, Europe, he's coming. I mean, he's coming. And he's looking at how to end this war with Ukraine and Russia. He's looking at how to try to solve something with the Middle East. That's the toughest of all. And there's a whole lot more. But the Trump effect is in effect. He's still got 40-some days before he even gets in office. This, you know how they talk about the first 100 days? I want to talk about the 77 days before he gets there.
Exactly.
Greatest 77 days in the history of the United States.
It's unbelievable. Oh, do you think? And I want to circle back to Ukraine in just a second. But do you think on this deportation? Do you think that he's going to be able to do the mass deportation? You know, Tom Horman, the czar that he's put in there. This dude doesn't play. He's told them, look, governors, all this kind of stuff, I'll put you in jail. He's not playing. Whether he's talking big and not be able to do it or not, I don't know. But some of them are starting to back down. And now you have the mayor of New York City coming out this week and saying, I'm going to work with them. This is a problem. We've got to deport. So they're going to pick out the worst case scenarios. They're going to try to show the babies crying and all this, and it seems like they're thinking right this time. They're playing their game, the media's game, against them, and they're coming out now and saying, "Look, we're going to do weekly and maybe even more than once a week press conferences. We're going to show you video footage. We're going to have body cam cameras on. We are going to show you everything we're doing, but we are going to do it." And then you have this, Pastor Paul, I don't know if you've heard this or not, but one of the most liberal appellate courts there is, I forgot which circuit court it is, all three liberal judges, but they all three voted unanimously this week that the U.S. government has the constitutional right to deport illegal aliens, even in states that are sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. So this liberal appellate court has already ruled in favor of the Trump doctrine. Do you think these mass deportations are going to happen? And what do you think that's going to do to the economy of the United States?
Well, the answer to your question is yes, there's going to be a massive, because even under Barack Obama's 8 years, he deported 5.2 million people.
Yep.
5.2 million people. Trump's only got 4 years, but he has a mandate because, Obama deported 5.2 million, and he did it quietly. You didn't even know what was going on. Yeah. Trump's is openly going to happen. So I'm going to say Trump in 4 years will deport 5 million people. In 4 years, 5 million, maybe more. Mm-hmm. And it'll get a little messy because you just can't help it. But the fact that this appellate court has made this decision, this just super empowered. This sanctuary city thing, that's dead in the water. That is dead in the water. And I love the border czar. Tom is the kind of guy that, if you can do this easy or we can do this hard. But either way, we're going to do this. Right. I love his approach. Yes, mass deportation is going to happen. Matter of fact, I think that some people are already leaving. Yeah. Some are already leaving because they don't want to be deported through that process. They're just going across Tijuana. They're just going on in. I mean, they're getting out of here now because they know what's coming. It's incredible.
Well, it's self-deportation is the term they're using, and I've read several countries, Colombia, some others, are contacting citizens that they know are here illegally, and they are telling them, get out now, come back now, because the American rule is if you are deported, physically deported as an illegal alien, you're banned from returning legally. But if you self-deport now and you want to live in America, you have an opportunity to legally immigrate back to the country. But if you get deported, that's over for at least 10 years and sometimes for life. And so you're right, there's self-deporting. But one of the things I like that Tom Horman is saying is he's saying, look, we're going after the criminals first. We know who they are. We're not going to storm into places and just randomly take somebody that looks a certain way and all that, which is the spin that they're trying to do. They're going to turn against American citizens. How are you going to know who's illegal and who's not? No, he's consistently saying we know who the criminals are, not just those that committed the crime of coming across illegally, but have committed other crimes. Some of them all the way up to taking the life of people and theft and trafficking. We know who they are. We know where most of them are. We're going to get them. But the liberal media don't even like to hear that. They're just trying to lump it all into one thing.
Yeah, it's wrecked the entire plan that the Biden administration was doing on behalf of the Democrat Party, and that was to just overflow America with immigrants, illegal immigrants, not illegal immigrants. We always have to remember what we're talking about here, and the media wants to spin it a different way,
right?
And but everything about their plan has failed. They have no leader, they have no message, they don't know what they are, they don't know who they are. I mean, this is you talk about something spinning out of control, something falling off the rails. They are lost without a leader or a message or a plan. I don't know. They're self-imploding. This is ugly. But
Yeah.
one thing's for sure, the Trump effect is working
Yeah.
massively, and it will be done as well as it can be done. And we're going to see a great relief. These cities are going to have relief of some of the funds that they need to help the American citizens because,
Yes.
a lot of money has went to take care
Lot of money. Well, you even they had to admit, whether true or not, they at least said this. They said, we don't know if we have enough money to take care of the victims of North Carolina. And when the hurricane that was about to hit Orlando, Milton, was that the one that was? Okay. Okay, so it's about to hit. And they said, we don't know if we can afford another hurricane. And it came out that the reason they couldn't afford it is the FEMA has taken so much of their money to put illegal immigrants up in nice, posh hotels, give them $5,000 debit cards, free cell phones, and all this out of the Federal Emergency Management agency's money. And now you have actual Americans suffering from natural disasters, and they're admitting we don't know if we have enough money because we've spent all the money on illegal immigrants. We have no idea how much. You put Ukraine and illegal immigrants, the money we've spent on Ukraine and illegal immigrants, it would probably, our minds would explode if we really knew that number.
Well, the people in North Carolina, the Asheville area, and on into Eastern Tennessee, these people, if we had all the money that we've given to Ukraine and to the illegal immigrants and all the work toward that we could rebuild that city. We could rebuild the city, build everyone a brand new home, and it be paid for. This is unbelievable that we've abandoned the American people. Literally, the tax-paying American people are being kicked to the curb by this administration, the Biden administration, which is the most corrupt administration in the history of the United States of America. Nobody's even close to this. This is you talk about a syndicate. It's a crime family that has absolutely abandoned the United States citizens. And that's why the people are saying enough is enough. And Larry, let me just say this. It's not just in America. This is going on all over the world. The people are up. Look at South Korea. The guy declared martial law. Now they're going to impeach him. There's democracies and republics, not just socialistic societies. I mean, we're not just communist societies and dictatorships. I'm telling you that nations are fed up with the corruption, even in free societies, and you're seeing this globally. And what concerns me is, does that create an atmosphere for the Antichrist to rise? And we're going to watch that closely because people are pushing back in a big way.
Well, what do you think about when you're talking about the Trump effect? It's having a positive thing, but it's also causing this Trump derangement syndrome to go to another level with these people. They just don't know how to handle this. One of the things that Sandy and I have talked about on our show, and I just talked to a lot of my friends about, is how strangely and suspiciously quiet the opposition is on the streets. I mean, you had Washington, D.C., and maybe it was because they thought they had it in the bag and they was going to try to set up the MAGA group again. But they had Washington, D.C. boarded up. I watched this one particular channel called Penguin 6 that I talk about a lot. Guy on the ground with a camera there in Washington, D.C., professional journalist, just documenting things. And he was documenting the week of the election that it was boarded up to 4.5 blocks away from the Capitol. They were preparing for something huge. Hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of plywood and all this was put on all these businesses and then just taken back down because there was no protest in the street. There was cities that was preparing for protests that didn't happen. And we know what happened the last time in 2016 when he won. So I just got this sneaky feeling that they're planning something between now and maybe J6 or between now and J20. But what are you feeling? Does it feel eerily quiet when it comes to what we know they're capable of? Do you foresee some type of on the ground major events happening, or do you think they're just so scared of Trump they're just going to let it ride?
Well, I think their plans were completely shattered by his election and by the amount of the size of the landslide. And they actually thought that they were going to win and that the Trump supporters were going to riot in these cities and tear things down, which Republicans and conservative Christians, and we don't do that.
We
We
don't do it.
we love our country. We don't tear it up. Okay. So yeah, they're stunned. And now they really don't have a leader. They don't know what they're supposed to do. You know, in 2016, when Hillary lost, they had a plan instantly.
Yeah.
Russia. They went. I mean, they here come the dossier. Here come here come Mueller. Here come the Lawfare. Here come the rioting in 35 cities. They tore everything up. You're right. It is so quiet out there, and they have so humbly just surrendered. I think they're absolutely scared to death at what's going to get uncovered. The plans they had is going to get uncovered, and they're running for cover. And they could be planning some major event. It is eerie quiet. I still worry about assassination attempts on the president.
Me too.
I really do. And so, I mean, that may be the only plan they have. And is if they can take him out, then they can come back out. You know, I don't know.
I tell you what, that January 20th inauguration is going to be something. I tell you, it's going to be something. It's going to be must-watch TV, y'all. It's going to be incredible.
Just build a glass box over top the entire area where he gets sworn in.
I would not doubt it.
Bulletproof glass. I wonder.
Yeah.
Maybe they should.
Well, I was about to say, my words was about to come out of my mouth. They probably should. And I hate it. I hate that we've got to that place. I don't like how it looks because you could see the glass and not see the purity. It's just a sign of where our country is. But y'all, there are deranged people that, and not just in America, but around the world that want him out. I think they should, and I think they probably will. My concern also is not just for him, but the people in the crowd. I've said on our show, look, you know, you're a free and moral agent. I understand if you want to. I would certainly be excited about going to the inauguration. I have advised our people, and I'm just one man's opinion. I would not be anywhere around Washington, D.C. on January 6th because I believe on January 6th, they are hoping that peaceful, happy MAGA protesters are there to celebrate the confirming of the Electoral College on J6. But there's such a stigma with J6 now. I believe they would love to see something happen on J6. So I tell people, you really need to pray about it. If you're going to Washington, if you feel led, you got peace about it, go, but keep your head on a swivel. Don't follow people around. Don't believe just because somebody's got a red hat on that they are MAGA and that they're, you know, so just be careful. Just be careful. In the quick rapid fire, got a few minutes left here. Do you think the Trump effect, we already see Zelensky coming forward and saying he's now open to discussion about maybe, you know, agreeing to an ending of the war and just say, okay, just let us keep what we still got. We'll let Russia have what they've had for now. Give us a promise that you're going to put us in NATO, and then we'll work out we'll try to negotiate to get our land back and all of that. Do you think that's going to come to fruition? Do you believe he's going to be able to actually solve this before January 20th or shortly thereafter?
I think he is going to solve it, but it's probably going to be shortly thereafter. Putin is playing a little bit harder ball because Putin feels he has the advantage right now. But at the same time, I think Trump has already been on the phone with Vladimir Putin. I know he's been on the phone. We know he's been on the phone with Zelensky. They even met in New York. So, yes. And Zelensky is saying, let me remain a country. You've got 21% of my country you've taken. You can keep it. Let's create a border, secure the border, but I got to be under the umbrella of NATO. I'm not so sure you can get him under that because that's a tough one for Russia to swallow. The only way Russia is going to say yes to that is because of the Trump effect. If Trump can have enough bluster and ability to say to him, look, if you want to keep that 21%, I mean, and this is a tough one, but at some point, Trump has to look this man in the eye and say, listen, we're giving you a chance to take what you stole from them, but they got to be protected. We have to work something out. Maybe it's not an immediate NATO, but it's got to be an 18-month process. It's going to be a process. We got to sign off. But if you don't think you can play that fair, then guess what? You're not going to get to keep the 21%. You haven't even seen us yet. We haven't even showed up yet. So do you really want? I think we're going to have that moment, that come to Jesus moment with boots scooting, nuke and shooting Putin, and so. That'd be the moment, folks.
Yeah,
I really believe that.
Yeah.
Now, I think Trump, though, is so good at the art of the deal that he's going to offer. He's going to have that hammer back here, but he's going to offer the olive branch.
Yeah.
So I think that he's going to work it out. It may take a couple months. I'm going to give it till March, somewhere in March or so. Maybe by the third anniversary of the war, they can declare a peace and they have a signing. Wow. It's a beautiful thing. And Trump's got his arm around Zelensky, his little buddy, and everybody's happy. I think it could happen. So I'm going to say Trump is going to end this war. I'm going to give it by February 24th, 2025.
Wow. Amazing.
Mark the tape. Mark the tape right here. Mark the tape. Okay.
Writing it down right now. That's one of the things that we talked about on this upcoming webinar that you've got coming just in a couple of days. In fact, tomorrow. Is that right? Tomorrow. What? It's tomorrow. The spiritual tomorrow it goes live. If you're watching this live tonight, December 6th, spiritual warfare. I am honored to once again be one of the people on your webinar. We talked about all kinds of things. Pastor Paul, why do people, first of all, what do you think about, man, we covered everything on ours, but secondly, you've got so many people on this webinar. Tell us real quick about spiritual warfare and why it is so critical at this moment.
Well, first of all, I want to say, Larry, thank you for being on this webinar. You were phenomenal. And I was telling people this yesterday on what video I did, because I just got done interviewing you and you doing this presentation. It was incredible, folks. Larry talks about the alien effect of spiritual warfare in an incredibly open way. And it was very revealing. It's very, very, very good. And he's got some great information. And also you talked about the spiritual, what goes on in the spirit world manifests in the physical world.
Yes.
And and what should the believer do? I mean, it's an incredible presentation. I'm telling you right now, guys, just go to our website and order the ticket right now. You'll be watching it tomorrow and you'll be thanking Larry for his presentation. And I'm not even telling you, Mike Around the World dropped so many truth bombs, it's going to blow your mind. I've been saying this in the 12 years that I've interviewed him. This is the most revealing interview ever that he's ever given.
That's saying a lot.
And that is saying our time as much as he's done. But it is incredible. And then you put your revealing and your information and your insight and your spiritual guidance to this, along with Lester Sumrall's. And I have to say, Dr. Lester Sumrall, God bless Dr. Lester Sumrall. And this is his grandson, Lester Sumrall. And he is so phenomenal in this, candid in the discussion. And he tells stories of where he and his grandfather, he traveled to 40 countries of the world with his grandfather before his grandfather died as a young man. And he's seen miracles, he's seen things, but in spiritual warfare, it was incredible. So I'm just saying right now, and then Sheila Glidden, and you've maybe even never met her, but
no,
she talks about witchcraft in the church.
What?
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. I heard a term today called Christian Illuminati.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a guy say this, okay?
Yep.
And so this is something people need to understand. We are dealing with spiritual wickedness in high places. Okay? And Larry, we've been blessed to sit be taken into high places, and we're compassed about by such a great cloud of witnesses for the Lord. But the devil shows up every time. I mean, remember when God spoke to the sons of God and about Job, and Lucifer was present?
I'll say it.
I'm telling you. So witchcraft in the church. Believe me, wherever the power of God's moving, the devil's also trying to move.
Yep.
You got You got to get this. You got to get this webinar, guys.
And I look, you talk about the Christian Illuminati. I just did a Bible study, and I'll link it down below with Paul Begley's website. You'll direct link paulbegleyprophecy.com down below. Click it. Go get on the webinar. I was on there. I was honored to be on there. I think we went like an hour and 20 minutes. It was in depth. We covered like 4 or 5 different segments. It was incredible. But I did a Bible study just last night that I'll link down below too. And I don't know if you've seen it yet. It's called "It's Time to Drain the Swamp in the Church." And I talked
about that in the webinar.
I did talk about it in the webinar. And the subtitle was "It's Time to Address the Deep State in the Church." And you're seeing terms like the church deep state, the church Illuminati, all this kind of stuff. God is shaking the church, y'all. And that's why spiritual warfare is so important at this time. So, Pastor Paul, thank you for being on The Big Picture. You're always a blessing. You got to get out of here because Mike from around the world.
Now, Larry, would you come on as this show is ending? I'm getting ready to go live, of course, on my show. Would you come on and be a guest for me before Mike comes on, and just help explain a little bit about what's going on around the world?
Absolutely. I'd be honored to. I would be fired up and ready, man. Anytime I can come on, Paul.
Let's get off here. You come join me on my show. I'll bring you on at about 9:15. Okay.
All right. I'm there. Y'all better. I'll be back in just a few minutes.
Surprise invitation.
What? Are you serious? Thank you, Pastor Paul. See you in just a few minutes on the Paul Begley Prophecy Coming Apocalypse. Love you, sir. Have a blessed day. Thank you for everybody watching The Big Picture. If you've not smashed the like button, go ahead and smash it now. Share this broadcast. Man, what a broadcast. And how about this? I didn't even know it until just now. I'll see you in just a little bit on Paul's show right before Mike from around the world. I'd be honored to be a part of that, and I'm excited. Y'all, if you want to partner with us and let us know, watch this, and we'll see you next time on The Big Picture, where we always want to remind you, we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake.
Would you like to help us build the Big Picture family? We're on a mission to wake up the world to what is really going on. All you have to do is go to our website at LarryRagland.com and make a one-time gift, or you can become a monthly partner. Any amount is a blessing and an encouragement to us. While you're there, make sure you get a copy of our book, I See Greatness in You. Browse our merchandise store, connect with us on our social media links, and join our mailing list. We appreciate it. And remember, we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake.